and you have lost a child to miscarriage, because there's no live baby for others to see that has died, there's a way when you grieve sometimes, people don't fully get it. And you can feel as if your grief is not valued, your grief is not heard, you can feel very silenced, yeah? And then men also experience that, but in a different way. So some of that disenfranchised grief is tied to miscarriage, but some of that is tied to the fact that they don't think that they have permission, yeah, to openly express their grief the way that women have. So, you know, one of the things that we've seen in the research, and some research was conducted, I think in the 90s, was that women are more active grievers, yeah, and men tend to step back a little bit. And in fact, men can display something that we call delayed grief, right? Or at least delayed presentation of grief after 2 years or so. So we've seen in some research in the 1990s by Lasky, I think it is, that men can actually take up to 2 years to then express their grief. Now, this isn't the case for all men. I'm not trying to speak for all men here, but the research is showing that because the primary site of intervention, physical intervention or medical intervention, is when it comes to female infertility, right? Even before, after, let's say after a miscarriage has happened, men sometimes don't feel that they have the permission to grieve because so much attention is placed on the woman. So men can experience this sense that my grief is not valuable. Then we have ambiguous loss. So ambiguous loss is when something is physically present but psychologically absent, or psychologically present but physically absent. So I wanted to think about that something could be present in some way and absent in another, yeah? And we know for women who are experiencing disease of the uterus, who are struggling to conceive, we understand that in their heart and their mind, they could sense this child that they want. They have a strong child wish. The child isn't physically there, yeah? And that can feel really, that could be a source of torture and torment for that woman. And even so, like, for the man as well. And I also put in the late grief response there, which I spoke to earlier. So, what are some of the central discussion points we're going to talk about today? Invisibility and men's sense of invisibility, the impact of gender norms, a sense of helplessness, communication issues, thing with assumed innate needs. And, you know, for this presentation, I want to be very careful because I'm a woman. So I don't think I have the right to speak as and pretend to be a man in this presentation. I can only refer to research and men's voices and the things that I've encountered in my own personal life, right? And so in this presentation, you would see me refer a lot to research, and you also see me refer particularly to one research article, in which the researchers paid attention to men's posts in an online forum. So there were men who were battling with female infertility, and there was an online forum. And so there's a thematic analysis done of those posts, yeah? So I want to use a lot of that because I really think it would be wrong of me to even pretend to speak as a man. I prefer to stay very close to men's actual voices. You're going to see a lot of those direct quotes here in this presentation. And of course, I will continue to show you how these things also impact women and women's mental health as well, yeah? So men sometimes experience a sense of invisibility. They feel there's no true opportunity to speak their feelings, needs, and concerns, and there's this perceived inequity between them and the woman. And men perceive that women have greater insight within the infertility journey, you know, because if it's female infertility, it's your body, you must know more, yeah? And they perceive that women had to go through infertility in a more visible, embodied way than they did. So they didn't think that they had access to the emotional bandwidth. You know? So after, when dealing with infertility or when dealing with diseases of the uterus, there are all these emotions that one can have access to and feel and express to one's family and doctor. And sometimes men don't feel that they can have room to play within, and I use the word play loosely. They can have room to speak and express within that emotional bandwidth. So I want us to take a look at this direct quote from a forum poster. The FP2 at the bottom refers to a forum poster. My feelings are that, let's remove this. My feelings are that it's all about the ladies primarily, but not entirely, because they bear the physical brunt in most cases. My point is that the need for support for a girl is so much greater than the needs of a bloke. So this was obviously in the UK, right? Needs of a bloke. So it stands to reason that everyone, including the bloke, my blokey means man, right, will prioritize the feelings of the woman. They express more need, and so they are prioritized. So you're seeing here how the sense of invisibility is coming out. So this is another post from another man. And this, it seems to me from the language here, that this couple actually went as far as using IVF, right? So in order to be able to conceive, right? IVF stands for in vitro fertilization. So results day tomorrow. This sounds terrible, but I think we've both almost accepted it hasn't worked this time. I feel that way mainly because my wife seems dead certain it hasn't worked. I'm obviously trying to say the right things and not give up yet, but have been feeling, especially in the last couple of days, that if anyone would know, it would be who. I find the last few words there to be very, very profound. If anyone would know, it would be heard. And we could see again how men step back, yeah? For women to be able to narrate the experience and talk about it and feel within it, all right? And it's often suggested, it's not a direct quote, but it's often suggested that men view their relationship within the context of infertility as being the supporter. They are the ones who are responsible for supporting the woman. And other research shows us that men believe that that's their central role, that they're not allowed to agree. Their role is to be the study oak or the supporter for the woman at that time. And so, as I mentioned before, this sense of invisibility can manifest as a form of disenfranchised grief, where men feel that they can't express themselves. And that is what can also experience. So it could also be experienced by women. And one of the reasons that men struggle as they do, one of the reasons is that we've really, really socialized our men to see themselves as protectors and emblems of strength and stability, all right? And we don't necessarily, they don't necessarily give themselves permission, and we don't necessarily always give men permission to express how they feel in this particular domain. And I want to contextualize it, I want to contextualize it in the context of female subfertility and female infertility. Yeah, the male may feel a sense of disempowerment. Speaking necessarily broadly, but I'm speaking about this particular context. So this is what the research is saying to us. So we're going back to another direct quote. At the moment, it is so hard to stay focused on everyday life. My partner is a mess. She is so angry and upset, and all I want to do is protect her and give her what she wants. I'm sure things will get easier, but I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do for the best sometimes. And so to build this real sense of helplessness for men, they don't know how to support their partners, and they don't know how to support them until and they also don't know how to support them through the menstrual discomfort. I mean, women with endometriosis and women with fibroids can attest to sometimes very difficult and painful periods. And the men seeing them experiencing this and sometimes don't even know what to do. Yeah, and in a society where you've been cultured to be protector and strong, to not be able to do that for your own partner, spouse, wife, whatever, can really, really be painful. All right. And one of the reasons for the helplessness is that helplessness was often attributed to the medical intrusion into their partner's body. So let me just stay here and explain that. When you think about female infertility and you think about the intervention, it is very intrusive for women. Yeah. So from myomectomies, intrauterine insemination, to in vitro fertilization, to needing to take tablets to deal with your PCOS, I want you to see who largely is the site of intervention. Even when there is male infertility, that's the interesting thing, even when there's male infertility, the primary locus of intervention becomes the woman. Would you believe that? So if you were to go to do in vitro fertilization, even if it's male infertility, the man has to produce sperm, but the woman is the one who has to take the injections to get her the ovary stimulated, right? The woman is the one who has to take the different all different medications, etc. The woman is the one who has to have eggs removed from her body and then eggs placed back into her body. So you know, the woman really, really carries the brunt of it, and men can, and because of that, a man can feel very helpless. All right. My wife has started the first lot of injections and just about to start stimulation. She feels so tired and has mood swings, which generally lead to me feeling incompetent in some form. So in this case here, it is possible that this woman was going through IVF, right? And of course, IVF is indicated in cases of, for example, endometriosis, severe endometriosis, where the woman cannot conceive, even using IUI, which is intrauterine insemination. And here, he's seeing how it's affecting her, and he's feeling very, very helpless. And you know, additional research has shown us, Spiro in 1994, I believe, said that at least 40% of men, sorry, who have to deal with infertility, female infertility, feel that sense of powerlessness and helplessness, at least 40%. I want you to take a look at these words. So these words came out of a study by Haley Horseman in Missouri in 2019. And she was studying the way in which men describe infertility, right? And how men describe the experience of having a miscarriage. So look at the words. The men describe the miscarriage as being a lost gift, cataclysm, emptiness, chaotic movement. But look at this. This is how men are describing miscarriage. This is how men are describing themselves: a rock, a god, a repairman, and a secondary character. So think about the fact that this man has to be this in the context of this. And this is how men, these are the words men are using to express their sense of helplessness in the moment. And I don't want to assume that that helplessness is only experienced by the man, it's also experienced by the woman. So as life partners, we go through as much as we can together, but some hardships are nonetheless suffered in loneliness. Can I just say that as I read that, something happened in my chest? And this quote actually came from an article where a husband was speaking about miscarriage. And those last few words, but some hardships are nonetheless suffered in loneliness. That even though we're partnered, even though we're together, it can still feel incredibly lonely for each of us. Men also sometimes assume that women have an innate need to have a baby. And I'm putting innate need with a question mark, because I think women have different thoughts about that, right? So men believe that there's an innate need for women to bear children. But I don't want us to get caught in whether or not that need is true or false. I want us to think about the fact that some men process it like that and what that does to them. So men often indicated that even if they indeed wanted children, they wanted primarily for their partners. I think there's an error there, forgive me. So look at this forum poster. He said, "I want a child desperately, but especially from my wife, who is the sweetest, kindest person you could ever want to meet. I know I'm biased though. She deserves everything she wants in life." So here, he's wanting it, yes, for himself, but he also wants it for her. And so there are two levels of loss then. Yeah, I can't have it, so I've lost this, but I've also lost my wife's happiness. His head, I'm not saying that this is actually what's happening, but I want you to see how he's processing it. So it's almost like a double whammy. And men also talked about communication challenges that they experience and how to kind of work through those communication challenges. So another forum poster said, "Communicating with our spouses can be one of the most difficult things. People deal with the issue of infertility very differently. And it is and always will be a bit of a minefield. I hope some of this helps. There are never right answers. You need to make the effort to find out how you can communicate with your partner and work everything through with a lot of patience and love." So I want us to talk a bit more about how have men made sense of the experience and what advice would they give to other men? What tips would they give to other men? And I will also share some of my own tips being a practitioner. So one of the forum posters said, "The best advice I can give to you is to be there for each other. You'll both experience a lot of different emotions, but you must try and stay strong and support each other. Remind yourself why you're doing this, and it hopefully makes sense. And why you're doing this is tied to the medical interventions that we pursue to get pregnant. Yeah, from doing a myomectomy to doing IVF or IUI, to taking medication, whatever it is. Yeah, that's what he's referring to. Another forum poster said, I guess the fundamental thing to remember as you go through this process is you got together with your partner to be with her, not because you are would-be parents. Love each other no matter what the outcome. And can I just say that some personal disclosure here. I remember, so in addition to seeking support from fibroid awareness, I also seeking support from another therapist. And I remember her saying to me that you are not just you're not just baby carriers or something like that, baby makers. You're not just baby makers, right? You're husband and wife. And we can lose that sense of being husband and wife, yeah, into just being baby makers. And I have to admit, it can lead to severe anxiety, you know, if you put yourself in your place of, I want to make a child, I want to have a child, I want to have a child, I can't have a child. And the sense of personal failure that you can experience. And I should have mentioned this before. Now, one of the ways in which men's pain is different from females' pain and is that women tend to engage in a lot of self-blaming. Yeah, self-blaming, and with blame, there's shame and heavy self-criticism, right? Men see it as a loss, but for women, that's what makes it qualitatively different. Yeah. We've heard too many stories of couples who split up before, even after an IVF pregnancy. That is like spending 10 years building your perfect house to just demolish it after you've moved in. Nuts. To take what we have for granted. We're stronger, more sharing, more together than ever. We're just sadder as well. So I want to provide some additional tips for you. And I see these tips as being an act of radical self-love. Yeah. If you are dealing with fertility or disease of the uterus or fears about about not being able to get pregnant, or if you are a man, you know, with a woman who's struggling in this regard, these are some additional tips. Remind yourself, ladies, that your body as it is fully adequate. I think we can't, your uterus is not the entirety of who you are. And I think we can, our uterus can subsume our entire identity. It could capture it if we're not very careful, right? Engage in self-compassion, and there are 4 critical elements of self-compassion: courage, wisdom, responsibility, and warmth, right? Courage. Courage is the strength, the bravery we need to have to be gentle to ourselves, even when we may not feel to be, or when we may be challenged by other people or questioned by other people about our fertility. We have to have the courage to stand up for ourselves and to take care of ourselves. Wisdom is about truly understanding yourself. Responsibility is a big one. You have a duty to be compassionate to yourself. And that's something that I often need to remind my own self of. Whenever I have to talk about self-compassion to somebody else, whenever I say the word responsibility, I always feel a shift within myself, because it reminds me that I am responsible for me, yeah? And that I have to give myself compassion. I'm entitled to it, and I have to give it to myself. And warmth. Compassionate warmth is about making yourself feel safe. And in a world where there's so many expectations about what this female body should be able to do or not do, it can feel like an attack. It can really feel like an attack. And you have to cloak yourself in your own sense of safety, yeah? Be assertive with external pressure. You have to, some people can say the most insensitive things and ask the most insensitive questions. I remember someone would ask me very early in my marriage, so when you're going to have a baby? And a good friend of mine used to tell that person, you know, or told that person once, I should say, that they're the guardian of my uterus, and that nobody's allowed to police my uterus. They've decided that nobody's allowed to ask me that, you know? And it was because I didn't have the courage at that time to tell people, don't ask me that question, it's invasive. And people just say it so loosely, the baby, da, 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 having no understanding of your private pain, all right? Take time out when needed. I think that's tied to compassion, being gentle with yourself, yeah? Go to the beach, clear your head, you know, take time out, because sometimes you can really feel flooded by your own emotions, yeah? So take your time out when needed. Be open to new ways to achieve your dream. So we're in a new time. You know, there was a time when it was unheard of to go and get a fertility clinic to assist you with getting pregnant. We're in a new time now. be open to doing the surgery if you need to do it. You know, I have to tell you, when I was battling with uterine fibroids, and I was speaking to Corey about when I reached out to thyroid awareness, you know, you talk to some people, they say they drink this bush and drink that and this aloes or whatever. Can I safely say that for me, that never worked? I tried some of it. It did not work. And I had to concede that I just needed to go and do the surgery. So be open to new ways to achieve your dream. Engage in physiological self-soothing. And in another, I know later on this month, I know we were going to do another workshop as well, where we're paying a lot of attention to women's mental health, even more so than we did today. And we will teach you how to do physiological self-soothing, because sometimes it's hard to think through things differently. And we need to teach you how to do your own physiological self-soothing, how to teach you how to regulate your nervous system using breathing and some other things we can teach you how to do. See a counselor if you need to. Talk to trusted friends. There are some friends who can hear you. Some friends can't hear you, I have to be honest. Yeah? And don't speak to people who want to tell you how grateful you should be. You know, so there's some people, when you're having a difficult time, you're struggling to get pregnant, they'll tell you, but at least you have a husband, at least you have this, at least you have that. You see all those at least people, you don't want to talk to them. You want to talk to people who can show you true compassion, who can say, I hear you. I hear this hurts. And I know that you have all these other blessings in your life, and I know that you see all these other blessings. But I know right now, you need me right now to be a witness and to show you true empathy in this moment. And so I'm here to hold your hand. We're going to cry together. Wipe out tears, pick up, and move on. And then we'll cry again the next time. But you don't need friends who are just trying to silver line everything. You need people who can really, really hear you. So you don't experience disenfranchised grief. Yeah? And the last thing I have here is do a ritual. So once again, I want to refer to Sharon Covington from the Fertility Center in Washington. She talks about couples who've lost a child to miscarriage, which can largely be a product of having uterine fibroids. Sometimes, you know, don't want to face or don't want to even mourn the child, yeah? But I think that helps to complete the grief cycle, yeah? If you don't do that, it can feel like this thing looming over your head. You know, it was a child, it was somebody, and you want to be able to go through the full process so you could complete your grief cycle. All right. And remember, I want to bring it back this point: self-compassion, self-compassion, self-compassion. You know, in my line of work, I do something called compassion-focused therapy. Yeah. And there are clear steps and clear techniques we use within compassion-focused therapy, because we know that within all of us, myself included, that there's an inner critic, and it is fed by societal norms which are internalized. I said, I want to thank you so much for giving me this time. I hope what I said made some sense. I know I talk a bit fast and try to slow down. But if you have any questions, please feel free to ask when Carissa allows it. Thank you.